After a disappointing last week on TNA, I am once again back to review the show. Last week's TNA was the show after Slammiversary, and I found the show very underwhelming. I didn't think it capitalized on the momentum it got from Slammiversary, and the flow of the show just wasn't very good in my opinion. But wrestling goes on every single week, and this is the week that I'm going to decide if I want to continue watching Impact or if this was just a flash in the pan moment. So, without further ado, let's see what TNA has to offer for me this week. TNA opens up with some fast-paced action as the Rascals reunion tour continues with them fighting Speedball Mountain and their mystery partner who ends up being Kushida. Did they abandon Kushida's rivalry with Jonathan Gresham though? I was very interested in seeing where that is going, but it seems to be put on hold, which is some sad stuff because Gresham has a really cool look and I want to see more of him, but I'm not getting anything. Nonetheless, the Rascals won as they have the championship match on NXT next week, so there was no other option than letting them win. And I'm hoping we'll see Wesley going against Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship because that can be a really cool match. Now backstage, Campaign Singh is on the phone with Mustafa Ali, and he's being told to prove himself worthy. Rosemary has a squash match and picks up a victory to gain some momentum. Ash by Elegance watches on backstage with her personal connoisseur. Last week, I complained about the women's division, and thankfully this week, the women got a lot bigger spotlight. But some of the people did say Giselle Shaw was next up, and since watching TNA, I have seen nothing of her. She hasn't appeared besides one pre-show match, so I'm wondering what's up with that. Is she really next up? Where is she? We catch up with Campaign Singh backstage again, and he challenges Mike Santana to a match later tonight in order to prove himself worthy to Mustafa Ali. Now, Josh Alexander is supposed to be in the ring, but he refuses to speak to the crowd and tells the interviewer that he's carried TNA through some of his darkest times, and now all the fans are turning their back on him for people like Joe Henry and Nic Nemeth, and he's sick of it and he wants his revenge. And Joe Henry was also surprisingly absent from tonight's show. I don't know why. He was on NXT this week. I think they would have capitalized on that appearance this week, but no. Back in the ring, Frankie Kazarian has a match against Nic Nemeth. He's had a feud with the Nemeth brothers for a while now, since before I started watching TNA and before Nic Nemeth won the World Heavyweight Championship. So they're continuing this here, and Frankie Kazarian picks up the victory over Nic Nemeth in a fine match. I expect Kazarian to be next in line since I talked about this feud with Nic Nemeth before. I expect him to be next in line, and I don't know if this is going to be a good high quality pay-per-view level match. Hopefully not, because I don't think Kazarian is that main event level superstar that you want to put in these big spots. But after the match, Josh Alexander walked past Kazarian, got into the ring, and kept beating up Nic Nemeth. We get a follow-up on that later tonight in the main event match. Back to some of the knockouts. Jody Threat defeats one half of the women's tag team champions in Masha Slamovich, and I think TNA needs to get rid of these tag team titles. The pool of knockouts is already so shallow, so putting a bunch of your women in useless tag teams is not the best idea. I think your women's division can be much better if you just get rid of these belts and focus on everyone as singles competitors, because all of these women could really excel as single stars and have a unique vibe to them. Now Santana defeats Campaign Singh in a very quick match, or at least it felt so, and I don't know if he's going to get kicked out by Mustafa Ali, but I hope not since it's a perfect character for him, and Santana grabs the mic after the match and calls out Moose. He says that the system cost him a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship, and now he's coming for the head of the snake. Now it's the main event time between Mustafa Ali and Nic Nemeth for the World Heavyweight Championship. I honestly feel like this is a pay-per-view quality match, and I would have rather saved this feud for Nic Nemeth's first big feud instead of potentially having with Kazarian, but the outcome was fairly predictable as Nic Nemeth won and retained his championship. Obviously he wasn't going to lose 2 weeks after winning it, so it all made sense here. And I've heard some rumors about Mustafa Ali potentially leaving TNA. I hope it's not true. I think he has a lot left to do in TNA, but I'll keep a close eye on that. And after the match, Josh Alexander came out to the ramp and he stares down Nic Nemeth. This should be an incredible future matchup I'm very excited to see. Now it's finally the end of the show and the wedding between PCO and Steph De Lander, the main reason I was excited for this episode of TNA. Rhino was PCO's best man while Zai Brookside is Steph De Lander's bridesmaid. And I'll take back my comments about the Knockouts division being dead, as even here it showed off some of its knockouts and there's a lot of interesting women's wrestlers, but I stand by my point that they lack any serious star power outside of Jordan Grace. Anyways, getting off of topic, the two of them share their vows and exchange rings, and then First Class comes out and interrupts the wedding, But this was a nice swerve as the wedding continued until Matt Cardona was the actual person to return and ruin this wedding. Yes, Matt Cardona is back in TNA and he laid out PCO and ruined the wedding. There is so much drama going on here, and he was formerly friends with Steph De Lander, and I don't know if they'll remain friends after this. This was really a brilliant way to end the show and definitely a good way to get people tuning in next week. Like I do on the end of each of these videos, I give the show a rating, and tonight's show was a 7 out of 10. It was pretty good, a lot of bright spots but also a lot of weak spots for me. And correct me if I'm wrong, I believe TNA is still taped, which makes sense why they spread their stars out over multiple shows. But I do think if you take the best parts of tonight's show and the best parts of last week's show, it could really be a 10 out of 10 show if you just cut out all the extra baggage. But I understand why you don't want to force your stars to wrestle 2 days after each other if it is taped, as I believe it is. Nonetheless, thank you for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy my recap of TNA. I will be continuing it for the foreseeable future, as the show is fairly enjoyable if you look past the bad parts, which aren't that many. But please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. It all helps the channel grow and spread around, and I would very much appreciate it. And thank you for watching. I really hope to see you again soon, and goodbye.